Aaron Judge is having another dominant season, but in this video, I'm trapping him on the worst team in baseball, and this video can't end until the Rockies win a World Series. However, with the state of this roster, that is going to be easier said than done, and to make things more interesting, I'm only allowed to control Aaron Judge in this video. However, I am allowed to improve the team and can make 2 trades per year to improve the squad, so I gotta make them count. We are jumping into our first game with Aaron Judge, wasting no time swinging for the fences for a home run. More than anything, I'm very curious how much better he can make this roster, but so far it's the same old Rockies as we're now down 9-6. Aaron Judge went yard twice on opening day, but it's still very clear that we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of holes on this team, but none are more prevalent than starting pitcher, as our rotation is ranked dead last in the league. We're definitely going to get some upgrades there, as Chase Dollander's our best player, but we also need help at second base and first base. Even with Aaron Judge on the squad, this looks like the worst team in the league, but to my surprise, we have a 3-0 lead against the Athletics. It seems we're at least a step above the Rockies in real life, and that is no surprise with Aaron Judge looking like the MVP. Thanks to another home run, we win this game 5-1, and while the series got off to a bad start, a series win could make all the difference, and we secure the sweep. That brings us back to 4-5, which is 3rd place in the West, and that is all because of Aaron Judge. This year's off to a better start than I expected, but now we're taking on Milwaukee, and to my surprise, we would beat them 4-0 despite a terrible game from Judge. Suddenly, the Rockies are back to 500 with 4 wins in a row, although they crash right back down to earth. We had a brief glimmer of hope, but once again, the Rockies are back to playing like themselves, and what a catch. Then of course, after that, we would fall behind 5-0, but at least Aaron Judge is still doing his thing. I can already tell this is going to be a long video, because even with the MVP, the Rockies still suck. After getting swept, we are simming all the way to the end of the month, as we lose another series to the Dodgers, and at the start of May, we are tied for last place. However, Judge is cooking with 17 home runs, which leads the team by a long shot, and he's currently on pace to put up historic numbers. With Aaron Judge playing this well early in the season, I'm interested in making our first trade, and checking out the trade block, right off the bat, I'm seeing the guy that I want. For some reason, the Astros want to trade Yordan Alvarez, and I'm just curious what this is going to take. I'll give them Brenton Doyle and Jordan Beck. That's not even close. Unfortunately, that is way too expensive, so we're going with the backup option, Isaac Paredes, and just seeing what they want for him, and that's a pretty solid deal. All it's going to cost us are a couple prospects, so we're pulling the trigger, and we fill a massive hole at third base with one of the best in the business. Nearing the end of May, we're 18-34, and Aaron Judge is still leading for the MVP. However, now we get to see Judge go up against his former team, the Yankees. He singled in the first inning, but unfortunately that did not amount to anything, so he takes matters into his own hands. That is another dinger for the Judge, and him winning the MVP might be the Rockies' only positive of the year. They got swept by the Yankees, but now have a huge win streak in the month of June. Being on a win streak in season 1 of this video is a huge shock, but not as shocking as the fact that over 80% of you watching have not subscribed. If you enjoy the channel and you haven't already done so, help us out on the road to 100K. I can't believe the Rockies have won 8 games in a row, and they're trying to keep their rally going against the Dodgers. Aaron Judge gets them on the board with a 3-run shot, and now in the 8th inning, here is a tying blast. This man has been unstoppable, but even then, a late rally would give LA the win. Despite our recent success, we are still the Rockies, so we're gonna make this season pretty quick, but we can still make one more trade before the end of the season. At the deadline, the best player on the board is Seiya Suzuki, and while we don't need another right fielder, he could always be a DH or even play in left field. We're gonna offer the Cubs 3 decent prospects, which will get it done, so Seiya Suzuki is our second acquisition. That will give our lineup more firepower that it definitely needs, but it's all downhill after that, as I'm seeing nothing but snowflakes. It feels like we're in this long term, so the drafts might actually matter, and I didn't do any scouting for this draft, but we still had a pretty nice class, getting several players above 90 potential, including a 99. That new addition should improve our team, but we're still in last place, so I'm simming to the end of the year, but it seems the addition of Seiya Suzuki and Isaac Paredes made a difference. We cracked 70 wins in the first year, and to no one's surprise, Aaron Judge is the MVP. Even though he's starting to regress, this was a 60 home run, 121 RBI season, and while I'm not expecting much from the rest of our team, it looks like we found a solid number 2 in Seiya Suzuki. After the 3 new additions though, the rest of this team goes downhill pretty fast, including a rotation which needs to be addressed in the offseason. To end the season, the Dodgers repeat as World Series champions, but without Aaron Judge in the American League, they took on Big Dumper and the Mariners. Having the Dodgers in our division will not help our case in this video, making our challenge even tougher. And in our first offseason, we're trying to resign German Marquez. He was pretty average last year, but still the best member of the worst pitching staff in the league, so we're trying to get him back, along with sign somebody in free agency, and I really like Zach Eflin. He would cost over $20 million, but 96 walks per 9 is a must-have, so we're throwing him on the board along with Marquez. We also need a first baseman, and while we could sign someone like Josh Naylor or Ryan O'Hearn, we're gonna put our hat in the ring for Kasuma Okamoto. He would immediately be a starter for us and should only get better. And at second base, I think number 4 overall pick Vaughn Spencer can be a day 1 starter. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks, and right now they're offering a can't miss promotion. They will give you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 in lineups if you use code Scrawny or click the link in my description. Prize Picks is a great place to use your ball knowledge to win cash while watching sports, and the app could not be easier to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you can win up to 2,000 times your cash on a single lineup. This app has been one of my favorite hobbies on the side of content creation, and this promotion means you'll be getting $50 in lineups back whether you win or lose. Again, use code Scrawny or click the link in my description to download now. Zach Eflin is ready to be offered a contract, so we're giving him 4 years and a little over his asking, because I understand that no pitcher wants to play at Coors Field, but we get pen to paper, let's go. We went all out to improve this offseason, at least for Rockies standards, as Zach Eflin joins Paredes and Suzuki as our big acquisitions. Remember though that we can only control Aaron Judge, which makes this a lot tougher, because our team's performance is pretty much entirely out of my hands, but so far so good, at least until we lose to the Phillies. After 20 games, we are 12-18, which is still really solid, as so far Zach Eflin has been a great addition to our team, starting out 3-0. Now we need him to stay undefeated and win us this series against Seattle, but it's still 0-0 in the top of the 3rd. Judge singled, but unfortunately the Mariners go up 1-0 as he's trying to beat this out, and he does. He gets on base again, and now for a 3rd time, but it might not make a difference, as we're still in a 1-0 ball game, and that is how it will end. We have been shut out by Seattle's elite rotation, and simming the rest of the series, we get swept again. It seems the Rockies' early luck is starting to turn, as they still have a winning record, but many of their key offensive pieces are now on cold streaks. Judge and Suzuki are both playing well once again, but I feel like the biggest reason we're above 500 is our new rotation. Adding Zach Eflin and Rule 5 draft pickup Matt Waldron's making a huge difference, so it feels like we're only one arm away from completing the rotation, although I'm not seeing anything on the trade block. Then as far as the position guys go, we could use an upgrade at center field, where Brenton Doyle does have a potential, but he has been pretty inconsistent and is off to a slow start to the year. It's a new season, so we can make 2 new trades, but first we have a big series against the Braves. That brings our record to 20-17, which is still in 3rd place, but our next opponent, the Giants, are right behind us. Simming to Judge's next at bat, it is 3-3, but after a flyout, San Francisco goes up by 1. We are trying to catch the Dodgers and the Padres, but if the Giants win this series, they could drop us into 4th place as we take 2 games back and split it down the middle. Just like that series though, this entire season has been pretty up and down, and I think the most notable storyline is that Seiya Suzuki has more RBIs and home runs than Judge. At the rate we're going though, neither of them are gonna win the MVP, but both guys are heating up, so there's a very good chance to change that. Aside from them, Ezequiel Tovar and Isaac Paredes are our next 2 best players, but after a mediocre season last year, we're still waiting for Paredes to fully heat up. After him and the next 2 guys though, the drop-off is massive, as the back of the lineup is still very much an issue in Season 2. We're simming the rest of May, hoping that we can stay over 500, but that is not looking likely, as we really fell off at 28-31. Then to make things even worse, we're taking on the Dodgers, trying to save our season. Another Judge home run will help us out, but Los Angeles would rally with 6 runs in 3 innings, and I feel like we always hit home runs when it doesn't matter. Every time Judge leaves the park, they extend their lead even more, and no surprise here, we are no match for LA. We are now trailing the Padres by 6 games, and to make things worse, they are our next opponent, as they are also gonna beat us, and we're facing the Dodgers again, which is not gonna go well. If we want any chance to make the playoffs, we need to make a trade right now, but like I said before, there is not much on the block. It would be nice to add another starting pitcher, but I feel like we can't afford any of these guys, so we're gonna be required to think outside the box. And what about Mitch Keller? He's putting up very good numbers on the year, but has a 4-7 record because he plays for the Pirates, but it looks like they actually don't need him because they traded for Andrew Painter. There is no question that Keller will improve this rotation, as we still need a true ace, but he becomes our number 2 after Zach Eflin. Now, will that actually make a difference? Time will tell, as we get swept once again and seem to be neck and neck with Arizona, who we do win a series against before also beating Detroit. We are building around Rockies' Aaron Judge slowly but surely as we're going into our final series before the break. A double from Judge gets us on the board, but this game is very close, and it's gonna come down to this simulation as we do win. We have a chance to sweep one of the best teams in our division right before the break, and 2 home runs from Seiya Suzuki makes it 2-1 while Judge is not doing anything. Even without our best player though, we find a way to win this game, so we're going into the break with a 45-52 record. However, we're nearly 15 games back of the Rockies, so we're definitely playing for the wild card where we're only 7 games back. I cannot believe that Seiya Suzuki has 13 more RBIs than Aaron Judge, who really needs to improve in the second half because he has been on a cold streak. For any other player, a 906 OPS is pretty good, but for Judge, it is simply disappointing, and if we're gonna surge to the playoffs, that has to improve along with the bottom of our lineup. We still have one more trade to make, and it's fair to say that the Mitch Keller acquisition is working out for us so far, as him, Zach Eflin, and now Chase Dollander are making a pretty solid trio. We're starting the second half, which feels like it could either be very successful or an absolute failure, and starting out with 2 series losses certainly is not a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, I do not see any way that we're saving this season, so we're gonna make our final trade and move on, as we're calling up Tampa Bay, who wants to give us Jonathan Aranda. Not only is he an upgrade at first base, but he can play all over the infield, and that versatility is very needed. With our second trade made, it feels like we've done everything we can to improve this team, and unless we go on a crazy winning streak, I think our goal is just to gear up and prepare for next year. Despite our good start to the season, we actually got worse from last year, finishing with a 66-96 record, and I really feel like the main reason we struggled was the fact that Aaron Judge fell off a cliff. For most players, an 878 OPS would not be bad, but for Aaron Judge, I think it's the worst I've ever seen him sim. As a result, the entire team went down with him, losing 5 more games than last year, as even though we've built a solid core in the first 2 seasons, the stagnant development of guys like Brenton Doyle and even Ezekiel Tovar is making a huge difference. Then in the rotation, both of our pitching acquisitions have paid off nicely, but Chase Dollander's rough second half did not help out anything. If Judge is regressing, we really need to improve fast, but the problem is we're still a low budget team and don't have much to spend. Looking at our current budget, we're sitting at $28 million available, and after retaining everybody that we need to, I'm not sure how much there's gonna be left. Probably the most frustrating thing about this team is if we go position by position, it seems we're in pretty good shape, as nearly everybody's ranked 80 overall or higher. That being said, if we're gonna make a move this offseason, I think it has to be for another starter, and while we're not gonna be able to afford the top line guys, there should be some budget players near the bottom that we can grab. I think Shane Bieber is a great fit for this team, as he's 31 years old with A potential, and his combination of hits and walks per 9 make him very intriguing. Just like last year, this will be an easy free agent period as we get our guy, but we only have $5 million left in our budget because we're trying to build a champion. If we don't make the playoffs this year, we could be in trouble because I don't know how much better we're gonna get. Aaron Judge regressed significantly in the second half last year, but he starts out with a bang, hitting a 3-run dinger against the Phillies. That is a big deal because we were down 5-0, and now it's tied up at 5 apiece where we walk it off. Our offense gets off to a great start against the defending World Series champs as we win that series 3-1 and then follow up with another win against Minnesota. Now it is way too early in the season to say this, but it finally feels like we're in business as we're in first place in the division at the start of May. After a disappointing season, it seems that Aaron Judge is right back where he needs to be as he's nearly put up an 1100 OPS. On top of that, Seiya Suzuki's having a good year as always, while Isaac Paredes and Jonathan Aranda are both contributing. I'd still like to see more from Hunter Goodman and Ezekiel Tovar, along along with really every other original Rockies player, as a 173 average in center field is not gonna cut it for Brenton Doyle. The Rockies are winning their division, and I can't remember the last time that happened, but this excitement may not last long as we're losing to the Giants. However, we fought back to make it a one-run game, and now Aaron Judge delivers, and credit to our entire offense for stepping up. That was the type of close win that we've seen all season long as we win the series, winning the third and final game of the series 10-2. Despite our success though, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers are right behind us, and even though the top of our lineup's playing very good as they always do, the same issues remain as Ezekiel Tovar and Brenton Doyle continue to struggle. We are doing just enough to win games, but that might not last forever as we get taken down by the Yankees, and now we're taking on a very good Philadelphia team, splitting the first two games. Colorado is tied with the Dodgers for first place, so they have to win this series, but it seems we have another close one as Judge starts off the day with a double and now launches a homer over the fence. He was the only reason the Rockies won this game, as we secure another statement victory right before taking on the Dodgers. This could be a make-or-break series against the Dodgers, even though it's still early, and in game one, we are tied up 3 apiece in the 7th inning, but Aaron Judge goes deep. That is home run 22 on the year, and simming forward, the Dodgers still found a way to win it. I really thought that was enough for us to get it done, but they surge back with 3 runs, so things are not off to a good start. We're simulating game 2, and game 3, we lose all 3 of them. We just got swept by the best team in our division, which is not gonna help, as we are now 2 games back midway through June. We need to rally against the Diamondbacks if we want our series lead back, and the first game is off to a very good start as we're now leading 6-2. That is a very needed W for the Rockies, but there's still 3 games to go in this series as we win game 2 and game 4. That 3-1 victory puts us back within a game and a half, and Aaron Judge is back in first place for MVP. Fortunately, it seems like we're on our feet after getting swept by the Dodgers as we win our next 2 series, and we're simming the rest of the month. Despite a good stretch though, we are still trailing, but at the start of July, I'm grateful that we're even in this position as our core on offense of Suzuki, Judge, Aranda, and Paredes are all contributing. On top of that, it seems our rotation is starting to heat back up after a rough start, so we have a good shot at the division as long as we keep improving. The challenges will not stop for the Rockies as we have to beat San Diego, and after a rough start, we are leading by a run. There's no quit in this Rockies team as they win another game, and since we're playing our best baseball, I think it's time to make our first trade of the year. We've made some splash additions in the past, but this year we could be World Series contenders, so why not shoot for the moon, dangling our best prospect, Ethan Holiday, as bait? I think more than anything, I'm just curious what I can get for this guy, and it's not Hunter Green. That was not the right move, but I don't think the idea is far off, as we could really use another starting pitcher. Brian Woo's a no. Going through the list, I don't think we're gonna find who we're looking for, although Tarek Skubal gets very close. He would be an electric player to bring in at 99 overall, and it looks like we can get him if we throw in Charlie Condon. Not quite. However, it's more than close enough, as giving up those 2 guys is quite a lot, but for a player like Skubal, I think it's entirely worth it. We're pulling the trigger. That officially gives us one of the best rotations in the entire league, and we're wasting no time giving Skubal his first start against the Padres, which we win. Tarek Skubal could bring us a division title, but we can still make one more trade, and we're picking up a very valuable utility man in Brendan Donovan, who's having a great year. This will cost 2 promising prospects along with 1 more player, but in my opinion, it's very worth it to get a player of Donovan's caliber. He will give us another all-star in a pretty stacked lineup, and unless something goes very wrong, this team is gonna make the playoffs. At the start of August, we have a 9-game lead over the Dodgers, and I truly feel like the addition of Donovan is everything that we've been looking for the past couple years, as we really don't have any holes. The team is playing its best baseball, so we're simming the entire rest of the season, as the Rockies finish with a 99-63 record, winning the West with the best record in the National League. Last year we saw a bit of a decline from Aaron Judge, but he is back, winning the MVP, and while he didn't hit 50 home runs, he had 124 RBIs. However, we also made a trade for Tarek Skubal, but instead of him winning the Cy Young, Matt Waldron is a finalist. Out of everybody in our rotation, that is not the name that I expected to see, but we make up for it with the reliever of the year, Seth Halverson. The Rockies made the playoffs, but their first test might be their hardest. They're going up against the Dodgers, but but Aaron Judge goes deep, which gave us the Game 1 lead and the win. That is a big win against our biggest rival, and simming Game 2, we also win it, so now we just need one more for elimination. Sweeping the Dodgers would make us the easy World Series favorites as Judge ties the game, but they responded with 2 runs, although Judge is going to hit another RBI. However, now in the 9th inning, we are tied up, and Judge has the chance to be the hero. He reads the slider beautifully and belts the go-ahead run. Aaron Judge has his 2nd home run of the series, and this one could secure us the win, and it does. The Rockies make a statement with a 3-game sweep over the Dodgers, and the Brewers are the final team standing in our way of the World Series. Milwaukee has been on fire in real life, but it seems that Aaron Judge and the Rockies are too much, as here is a Judge grand slam. That ended up being a dominant Game 1 victory, so it really feels like we have the advantage as we win Game 2 with Matt Waldron on the mound, and now it's time for another start from Skubal, which we win before winning the series. That series was extremely easy as we're moving on to the World Series against the Astros. If you remember, we did take away Isaac Paredes from them in Season 1, but as you can see, it looks like they've rebounded quite nicely with the addition of Chris Bubic and Rafael Devers. The Rockies have made the World Series, but the Astros are coming into this red hot, so anything can happen. We started out with an Aaron Judge double, but it's still 0-0, so this one's going to extra innings, coming down to a simulation as we do get the win. That first game sets the stage for what is hopefully a great World Series as we lose Game 2 before rebounding in Game 3. So even though our focus in the playoffs was on the Dodgers, the Astros are a real threat. Fortunately though, Chase Dollander threw a shutout, so we're 1 game away from winning it all. This could be the final game of the challenge, but the Astros are winning 2-0. Although simming forward to the 5th inning, we are tied up at 3 apiece. Judge has not done anything today, but somehow Colorado takes the lead, and here's a double. That would spark a rally for another 3 runs, and we're trying to end this challenge on a great note. Aaron Judge launches home run number 8 of the postseason, and after that, there was no chance for an Astros comeback. I put Aaron Judge on the Rockies and rebuilt them, only making 2 trades a year, turning them into a World Series champion in year number 3. Drop a like and subscribe, and as always, click right here to see more content.